Hello people, today we are going to learn about relations and functions. So let's get started. A function is a special type of relation that pairs each domain value with exactly one range value. So let's see an example to understand this statement. This is an example given with x and y values. X values are always domain and y values are always called range. So let's using these coordinates, x y coordinates, 4 points are given. So let's separate them in domain and range. So all x values are the first number, and the second number is always range, that is y value. So putting all the domain and range together, D is for domain, so 3 5 4 again 3. So even if there are the 3 is in the domain is written twice, in the domain we will write only once. So 3 5 4, and this 3 is already taken, so it will be written as 3 5 4. This is the domain. And what is range? Range is -2, -1, 0 and 1. So range is here. So out of all the 4 points, we have separated the domain and the range. Now what we need to do is we need to find if the each of the domain points to only one value in the range, then it is a function. If the domain points to two value in the range, then it is not a function. So as we see, 3 points to -2 and 1. So 3 corresponds to two numbers in the range or y value, that is -2 and 1. So this is not a function. Each domain value does not have exactly one range value. The domain value 3 is paired with the range value -2 and 1. So if you want to draw on the graph, you can say here this is x and this is y, or domain D and R, and 3 here points to -2 and 3 again corresponds to 1, as seen in the example. 3 corresponds to -2 and 3 corresponds to 1. So whenever you try to draw the graph, 3 corresponds to -2 and 3 corresponds to 1. There are two number which is coming from domain and going to range. So there are two numbers in the range which corresponds to one number in domain, then it is not a function. It is not a function. So let's see which one can be function. Here each of the domain points to only one value in the range, but this is a function. Why? Because each domain value is paired with exactly one value in the range, but the other way around it is okay in case of function. Like two of the domain values can point to one value in the range, but each domain value should be paired with exactly one value in the range. So -4 is pointed to 2 and -8 also corresponds to 2. So it's okay. As in the previous case, one domain value was pointing to two different range values. So that's not a function. So we have to keep this in mind for selecting which one is function and which one is not. So remember the rule, domain value should be paired with exactly one value in the range. When an equation has two variables, its solution will be all ordered pair x, y. That makes the equation true. Since the solution are ordered pair, it is possible to represent them on graph. When you represent all solution of an equation on a graph, you are graphing the equation. Since the solution of an equation that has two variables are set of ordered pairs, they are relation. One way to tell if this relation is a function is to graph the equation, and we use vertical line test. So if you are unable to find by using the this method, which we discussed previously, regarding the domain and range thing, then you can use the graphical method, in which you can use x and y values to graph the equation, and then you can draw vertical lines on the graph. And if there is a vertical line which touches the graph two times, then it is not a function. So whenever you draw a vertical line, it should touch at only one place in the graph. And when remember this thing, when choosing values of x, be sure to choose both the positive and negative values. That is, for example, if you choose 1, also choose -1 or -2 and 2, something like that. So here is the rule: any vertical line will intersect the graph of a function no more than once. So here is the graph, the red thing is a graph, and this is the vertical line. So whenever you draw a vertical line anywhere in this graph, the red and the blue line will touch the red line only once. So this is a function. But in case of this graph, the red line is a graph, and when we try drawing the vertical line, it is touching the graph at two places, here and here. So this is not a function. So this is an easy way to find uh, um, whether the function is a whether the graph is a function or equation is a function or not. So similarly, you can, for if there is if you have been given an equation like y is equal to x square, you can put the values, choose the values for x, and find the corresponding value of y, then put it on the number line, and then you can draw the line graph, and then start drawing the vertical lines for the graph, and then find out whether the vertical line is touching the graph at 2 points. If it is not touching at 2 points, then it is a function, and if it is touching, then it is not a function. So let's see one example. Let's see y is equal to x square. So after choosing the value for, like, choosing 0 for x, y will be 0. Choosing, this is x and this is y. Choosing 1 for x will be y will also be 1. Choosing 2 for x, 2 is a 4, so 4. Choosing -1 for -1 for x will be 1 for y, -2 for x, 4 for y. So here, using the domain range value, we see that the domain is 0, 1, 2, -1 and 2, and range is 0, 1 and 4. These 1, 4 are repeated, so range is only this much, 0, 1 and 4. So here we can see that each of the domain value, that is x value, corresponds to only one y value. So this is a function. So let's plot plot the graph and see if it is a function or not. So y value is 0, 1, and let's see, this is 4, and x value is 1, -1 and -2, here 1 and 2. Now plotting the dots for 0, 0. So let's use a different color to understand. This is the point, first point for the first pair. Second pair is 1, 1. So 1 and 1. 1 on x-axis here and 1 on y-axis here. So they correspond here. Then the third is 2 and 4. 2 on x-axis goes here until the 4. So 2 and 4 correspond here. Similarly, minus 1 and 1. Minus 1 on x-axis and 1 on y correspond here. Minus 2 and 4. Minus 2 and 4 correspond here. So let's draw the graph. This is the graph for y is equal to x square. Now what we need to do to determine whether this is a function? We need to draw vertical lines. Vertical lines. So when you draw vertical lines, you see that none of the vertical lines are touching the graph two times. No matter where you draw the vertical line, it is touching the graph at only one single point. So according to rule, it is a function. So by graphing also you can determine whether it is a function or not. So y is equal to x square is a function. Let's draw another graph. This is another graph. Let's say we got a graph after plotting the after using xy coordinates, xy pair, you got this kind of graph. The graph which is, let's use different color. This red thing is a graph which you got after plotting the xy from an equation. Now how to determine whether this is a function or not? You need to draw vertical lines. When you start drawing vertical lines, what do you find? You find that each of the vertical line is corresponding to two of the points in the graph. So the conclusion is this is not a function because vertical lines are touching two of the points on the graph. So guys, I hope you got some idea on what is function. This is a rule which you can remember for the graphs, and for domain and range you can remember that each of the domain value should be paired with exactly one value in the range. So this is how you can determine whether an equation or a graph is a function or not. So I hope you got some idea on relations and functions. Next week we will learn about independent and dependent variables and other things in algebra. So come back to my channel or subscribe to my channel for more videos on maths and other things. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon.